We're going to start on Prime Video with the return of the Grand Tour with Sand Job, which arrives on Friday the 16th of February. And here's a clip.
You have driven across deserts in the past, but this is the big one. This is the Sahara. You are currently in a Foreign Office red zone. So behave yourself. You're in a minefield. Back up exactly where you...
So yes, James May, Richard Hammond and Jeremy Clarkson are back. Of course, Sand Job is a rather juvenile joke based on Hand Job. And what they're doing this time, the superannuated petrol heads, is they're doing the last leg of the Paris-Dakar rally across the Sahara Desert. I was a Top Gear fan in the days when these guys presented it, and I have enjoyed quite a lot of the Grand Tour, but I'm kind of over it now, I've got to say. Particularly Richard Hammond's shtick is of kind of being like a man-child, is wearing particularly thin. Just the whole artifice of it. Obviously they don't modify their own cars. Someone does it for them, of course. Then there's all the banter. Your car's rubbish. No, your car is rubbish. No, yours is rubbish. The practical jokes, which again they don't do themselves. Clearly the production team do. A lot of it it's just not believable. I mean, I know it has to be artifice for it to work. Of course, there has to be fake jeopardy. So at one point they have to go through a tunnel which has bats in it, which they make a big meal of. What's the problem? Just drive through it. Drive through this tunnel which has bats in it. It's no biggie. And then they pretend to be driving into a minefield, which obviously they aren't, because I don't think Amazon Prime Health and Safety would be very keen on. So I'm over the Grand Tour, really. I'm finding it all quite repetitive and incredibly artificial. The jokes aren't very funny, nor is the banter. Practical jokes, from my point of view, are a form of bullying. That's probably a bit woke of me, isn't it? But there we are. I mean, if you like the Grand Tour, you'll enjoy it, I'm sure, because it's just more of the same. But I kind of think it's time to park the Grand Tour. Yes, I've said it. What do you think, Hannah?
It's a shame, isn't it? Because both you and I, for as long as we've been doing this podcast, have enjoyed this series, and it keeps coming back. And I suppose there is a reason it keeps coming back, because there is clearly an audience. But, you know, as we always say, it's sometimes best to sort of stop while you're ahead of the game and while you're on top. And I do totally see what you mean. I mean, the trio, they do kind of make me laugh, but I would agree with you. It does feel a bit artificial in places. It does feel a bit false. And that's mainly because, you know, the reality of being in, 48 degrees heat with no air conditioning and what have you. I mean, is that really happening for the length of time they're saying? You know, is that really sensible or right? Or would they really be allowed to do that given the context and the setting of kind of other shows where we've seen, dreadful things happening? I don't know. I kind of would agree with you. And they are a bit sort of, two against one all the time. But I do think people will still enjoy it to a degree, and perhaps it's just we're a bit long in the tooth for it. Perhaps we've just watched too many of these, and we just kind of like, don't you think we're just kind of like, it's just a bit, we've seen this, we're a bit wise to it, I suppose. And I think because we see so much, perhaps that makes us even wiser, and we exhaust things sooner than somebody else. But I completely hear what you're saying.